This is the archetype I think all of the Bridgerton characters would be if they were set as like a modern day high school drama. Anthony would be that kid that is super smart, but also like super overworked. He's in every single extracurricular, he's in all honors or AP classes, and he just puts so much pressure on himself because he absolutely 100% has to get into an Ivy, and if not, he'll be the biggest failure in his family, even though his family is like, you can just go to a state school. I think Benedict was one of those popular kids who was popular because he was just genuinely really nice and funny and charismatic. And I actually think Colin would be in the exact same friend group as Benedict for the exact same reasons. But because he has such a rich inner world, people only see the outside persona that he projects, and he feels like he's consistently underestimated. And I think he would surprise everyone by signing up for the Peace Corps immediately after graduation, and then coming back from it and signing up for college with a creative writing degree. Because he just learned so much while he was out there, and he really gained perspective, and he wants to write about it. Daphne would be that girl who's just like really pretty, really nice, and seemingly good at every single thing she's ever tried. And I think at some point she would have signed up for drama club and be given like a leading role in the musical over some of the older girls that are about to graduate, and they're pissed about it. But she actually is the best choice for the role, and they break like record attendance of the musical because Daphne's in it, so everybody knows it's gonna be good. Eloise is unfortunately that girl in class that's like really smart but also really annoying about it. She definitely over-contributed to discussions in her history and English classes. Now, you may think that I would say Francesca would be a band kid or an orchestra kid. You would be wrong. Those people are way too obnoxious for her. She's a very quiet, solitary little mouse in class, but then I think she would roll up to the talent show at the end of the year and play something on the piano, and everybody else will just be completely floored, shocked. She can do that? Gregory was definitely that middle school boy that taught everybody how to make rubber band finger guns and shoot them across class while the teacher had their back turned. I also think he would have been the main organizer of his senior prank. Hyacinth is like a pretty decent student, not like wonderful, but pretty good. But the only reason is because she's that girl that just writes really beautiful notes. Like, she doesn't care about the material at all, but she cares about beautiful notes. Okay, she rolls up to class every day with her giant pencil case that is bursting at the seams with every single color of pen that you can think of and its matching highlight. She's drawing relevant pictures in the margins. She's embellishing the titles. Kate was definitely president of the debate team, and she was also in student government. Simon was that kid that like everybody could tell had a really bad home life, but knew better than to ask him about it, because despite him being generally pretty nice, that was a sore spot and you would get your ass kicked. I think his teachers probably really worried about what his life was going to be like after graduation when he no longer has like the structure and dependability of school. And I think Penelope was that girl who sat at the back of class. She didn't have good grades, but she didn't have bad grades either. She just was really quiet, never really spoke unless spoken to, but that was by design, because she didn't really have an interest necessarily in like being a part of the conversations that people were having around her. But I think that the second she got home from school, she logged on to AO3 to continue writing her 145,000 word masterpiece that will stick with people for years about her favorite ship. It was also definitely rated M, if not E, and I don't mean E for everyone. I think Violet was the cool mom that would always like cart you around to different activities that you and your friends wanted to do after school. Like, she would pick you up, load you and your friends into her minivan to take you to the mall to go see a movie, and then she would wait around in the food court while you guys saw the movie, and then load you back up into the van and take each one of your friends home straight to their house individually. Was this video fun? Do you want to see more like this? Because I'm not typically great at coming up with prompts, but if you do, you can leave them below. No, this is a great point too. Colin is a person who is always gone for what he wants once he knows what he wants. He doesn't doesn't have this kind of like self-deprecating internal torture that he gets off on in the way that Simon and Anthony do. But like, we've seen Colin go for what he wants time and time again, okay? He wants to be taken seriously by his family. Marina takes him seriously. He says, all right, I will step up. I know that this is a way that I can be taken seriously. I'm going to do it because that's what I want. He's always wanted to travel. He says, okay, I'm going to do this thing that I've always wanted to do, and I'm going to travel. He's always said that he wanted to protect Penelope, and when her cousin Jack, the grifter, is in town and taking advantage of them, he says, no, I'm not going to let that happen. I want to protect her, so I'm going to do that. When Penelope hasn't been writing to him for 4 months and he gets back, the first thing he does is say, I want my friend back, let me go see Penelope. He's literally like, okay, what can I do to fix this? How can I make this up to you? Because I want my friend back and I'm going to take the actions necessary to do that. And as a side note, this man only does what he wants. So when Penelope asks him to kiss her, he does it because he wants to. It takes him 1 episode to sort through his feelings and figure out what's actually going on here. But when he realizes that this is what it is, and that's maybe what he wants, he goes to Violet. He says, is this possible? The moment she says yes, they are at a party. The moment that she says, yeah, it could be possible for friends to love each other. You just have to be brave enough to ask. He says, okay, literally turns away from his mother, beelines for Penelope. He says, okay, it is possible. Okay, let me go get what I want. And in episode 4, when he realizes, no, really, you gotta make your move now, he says, okay, I'm gonna make my move now. Unlike Simon and Anthony, Colin does not struggle with this internal affliction where he believes that his own self-suffering is necessary atonement. And that's a good thing. That is a good thing, because that shit is literally what Anthony and Simon had to spend their whole arcs getting over. That's one less barrier that Colin has to cross in order to feel comfortable in who he is and create a life for himself that's going to bring him satisfaction and make him happy. And not just make himself happy, but make Penelope happy with him. This comment was left on a video that I made about how Colin always goes for the things that he wants. And as much as I appreciate that you agree with me, I still don't really agree with you. But I do just want to explain what it was supposed to mean, since that wasn't necessarily very clear. So like I said in my other video, Colin always goes for the things that he wants as soon as he realizes that he wants them. But if you notice, all of the actions that I was referring to in that video are like external, and they always benefit the other person as well. Or in the case of his traveling, it's like neutral. There's no gain, no loss. But internally, the actions that he takes in social settings are always prioritizing the comfort of others, which is not a bad thing. It's actually one of the good parts of Colin's character, is that he is so socially aware and he uses that power for good. Like in season 1, when Cressida purposely spills a drink down Penelope's dress, and he assesses the situation and immediately responds in a way that not only puts Cressida down and shames her for what she just did, it also lifts Penelope up and makes her happy, but also gives her solid social standing among the group of people who were there. If Colin values her, then you guys have to value her. And he did all of that while staying within the rules of polite society. But when those same social settings don't require physical action, he's always prioritizing the group. He's trying to fit in, he's trying to keep the mood light. And when he does chime in and give his perspective on things, if it's not well received by the group, he'll just drop it. So when Violet is saying that he puts everybody else first, she's meaning literally he diminishes his own wants and needs. But there are so many instances of this in season 3. He wants to be Penelope's friends again, and he does that because it's really only going to affect him and Penelope. But at the same time, he continues to play his new role because he's gotten so much approval from his brothers and from the other, Fife and the gang. The group is responding more positively to him, so he continues to do it. When he does start to question it, when he's out at the brothel with Fife and the others the second time, and he's like, isn't this strange and weird, and they brush him off and laugh at him, and then he just is quiet. He feels like he can just internalize it and deal with it on his own. It's not necessarily worth like pushing the point with these people. As soon as Violet tells him that love can come from friendship, he immediately turns away from her and goes after Penelope. But when he gets to her and they're staring, and then Lord Devlin comes up and she turns her attention to him, Colin backs down because he doesn't want to make them uncomfortable. If he had done what he wanted, he would have confronted Penelope much more directly under the willow tree. But instead, the first thing that she shows up is saying, that was weird, sorry, like we shouldn't have done that. And so he questions himself and he says, oh, is that not, are we not feeling that? Okay, maybe not. And they go back and forth, and he does push a little bit, but like ultimately he is very respectful of Penelope's wishes. He thinks that she has no desire for him. Meanwhile, he's like literally losing his mind thinking about her. But after Violet has this conversation with him, he does, for once, prioritize his own feelings by stopping, like interrupting the dance between Penelope and Devling, and not really caring about the repercussions. So yes, he takes what he wants, but only if what he wants is not at the expense of others. It needs to be a net neutral or a net positive.
I don't even know why Penelope likes Colin, besides the fact that the plot said that she's supposed to.
Back in seasons 1 and 2, that was the rest of his sentence. I've been tagged in this video so many times, which is really funny because I was actually already there in the comments. But I do genuinely think that you want to understand, and I genuinely think I can help facilitate that, so let's go through this together. Number 1, I have to ask, have you actually gone back and rewatched seasons 1 and 2 recently? Because if you haven't done it within like the past month, I actually suggest you just start there, and I truly think you'll be able to answer your own questions if you pay attention to Colin and Penelope in their scenes both individually and together. But if that's not the problem and you have rewatched them, then okay, let's talk about the trope more. Because you said that the issue with the friends to lovers trope is that they never explain why they like each other. But like, have you never had a crush on a friend? Like, this is a genuine question. Have you never had a crush on a friend before? Because friendship comes with a baseline level of like understanding, of enjoying each other's company, of caring what the other person has to say. And anything on top of, like, if that is the baseline of friendship, then anything on top of that just, like, adds more to the appeal. Like, if they're attractive, if they are particularly kind, or they stand up for you, if they make you feel seen and heard in a way that literally nobody else in your life does, which are all things that Colin is and does. Also, both Colin and Penelope are, like, huge romantics. But unlike Colin, Penelope is literally a social outcast. She has exactly 2 friends. They are Eloise and Colin. She's been on the marriage mart for 3 years with literally 0 prospects before Lord Devling. Other people are mean to her. They are unkind to her. They don't want to dance with her. They don't want to talk to her. Meanwhile, Colin is happily trotting over every single ball because he wants to dance with his friend. He wants to talk to his friend because he likes her, because she's really his friend. So, like, of course she's gonna have a crush on the one male person who knows her and is kind to her and likes her. As for, like, why didn't she choose Lord Devling? Don't get me wrong, I actually really liked Lord Devling as a character. I'm so, like, glad that they made him super nice and respectable. I also think the arrangement that he was offering is a great match for somebody who's not Penelope. Because having your husband be gone long term, you get to run the estate, you get to do what you want, have your privacy, live your own life. That is exactly what many women of the time wanted. But Penelope has always wanted love. And when she straight up asks him to his face, like, do you think there's a possibility that we could ever love each other? And he says, probably not, I just love my work too much. That's not a good match for Penelope. Great match for somebody else, not for Penelope though. She's just going to be unhappy if she says yes to that. And even more unhappy than if she just stays a spinster, because at least being unmarried means that even if it takes forever, even if it's way down the line, there is still a chance at finding love and getting married. Now, okay, also, it does take Colin forever to even notice that she does like him. In fact, technically, he still hasn't noticed. But it's not because he doesn't love her, it's because he's a dummy Like, okay, you know how you like grow up with cousins? I didn't personally, but I know most people do. You grow up with cousins, and like some of your cousins aren't even really your cousins. They're just like the children of close family friends who are also your age, but you grow up super close together. That's Colin and Penelope. She's basically family to him. He doesn't follow the rules of proper etiquette with her at all because they are already on a level that is so much more intimate than that because they've grown up together and they've been friends for so long. So despite the fact that Colin genuinely does feel more seen by her than literally anybody else in his life, gets along with her more than anybody else, like truly thinks she's hilarious and great to be around, he feels all of those things. But because he literally treats her like a person already in his family, it doesn't occur to him, that that's even an option. She's been such a constant in his life that it isn't until she really is like about to marry Debling that where he's like, oh shit, maybe she won't be with me forever, and I don't want that, actually. There's a scene in season 2 where he's like, oh, I've sworn off women, and Penelope is like, does that include me? And he's like, no, you are Pen. You don't count. And of course, she takes this like, oh, okay, so you don't even see me as a lady. Great. But like, Colin is meaning it like, no, you're not just some lady. You are more than that. You are a important person in my life that I would never even think about not having in my life because I care about you so deeply. So yes, the trope is friends to lovers, but it's also idiots in love. Anyways, I hope that helped. If you want to hear in more detail about any of the topics I covered, I've already made a video about it. I've made so many videos explaining things like this, so if you want more, you can actually just go watch. But okay, thanks for listening. Bye. I've been seeing this comment pop up more and more, and I'm kind of torn on it, because like on one hand, I totally understand that the other seasons, they've had flashbacks, and we want to see cute moments, right? Like we want to see little baby Pen and Colin when they first meet. Actually, that was on my bingo card that I thought we were going to get a flashback for that. I'm glad that they at least referenced it. But outside of that, I actually just don't think there's a need for flashbacks, because the whole reason that we got them in seasons 1 and 2 was to explain a deep emotional trauma that is like a defining characteristic of the main character that we would not otherwise be able to understand if we didn't see it. Whereas Colin doesn't, like, he was still pretty young when his father died. He didn't have to carry the weight of that. The stuff that like causes his inner turmoil, number 1 is like just gonna have to do with Lady Whistledown, but number 2, we've already been seeing it for 2 seasons, so having flashbacks for season 3 would literally serve a completely different purpose than it did in the first 2 seasons. Like, that's been his whole plot the whole 2 seasons, you know, that his family doesn't take him seriously and that Pen does. I just think it would waste time in an already squashed runtime. Like, I actually think the pacing is fine. I know people are complaining about like there being too many storylines. Here's my thing, I actually don't think there are, and I also think the pacing is fine. I think what we're really saying is we just want more episodes because we want more. Which, yes, yes, I do just straight up want more. But I don't think what they're doing is bad. Like, I think they are doing it well with the resources and time length and everything that they were given. This one is for my people who really love Simon and/or Anthony, and I'm not here to tell you not to, okay? I love Anthony. But this realization I just had might give you a little bit of perspective. Maybe you can at least appreciate Colin. The only reason that Daphne is able to stop the duel between Simon and Anthony is because Colin listened to what she needed and took her there. If Colin weren't so sensitive and in possession of a good head on his shoulders, Simon would be dead and Anthony would be on the run in a different country. So you can say thank you to Colin for the 2 seasons that you do like. Okay, this is part 2 if Bridgerton characters were in a modern day high school drama. Portia is the waspy almond mom to end all waspy almond moms. Somebody mentioned this in the comments of my last one, but Colin was definitely stopping by at Penelope's table every day at lunch and like slipping her more snacks that were her favorite snacks because her mom doesn't give her enough food. Philippa and Prudence are literally Karen and Gretchen Wieners. And Cressida is obviously Regina George here. Like Regina George, Cressida is really only popular because she's hot and rich and mean enough to make people question themselves, which is exactly what Philippa and Prudence fall prey to from their mother as well. Lady Danbury is definitely like the wizened older nurse who calls you out when you're faking being sick, but like still gives you juice and cookies and let you sit and hang out for like 20 minutes. And because of his bad home life, Simon was in there quite a lot. And that's how they formed the bond that they have, and how Lady Danbury becomes like a mentor and a parental figure in his life that's actually dependable. I feel like people's first instinct would be to say Queen Charlotte is the principal. This woman likes gossip too much. She's the guidance counselor. She knows the ins and outs of the social ecosystem at any given time, and she does meddle to varying levels of success. Madame Delacroix is 100% a drama teacher, okay? She's there to like lift you up and turn you into the best person that you could possibly be on stage and off of it. But at the same time, she doesn't take any bullshit, which is why she didn't let Cressida bully her into letting her be the lead, and why Daphne got it instead. Also, I think she would hate Cressida. I don't think she would like her one bit. But obviously you can't say that to a student. John and Francesca are lab partners, and the teacher put them together on purpose because they thought they would both enjoy that. I think Marina is that girl that was like a really hard worker. Like, you know, she had a job as soon as she could to help out the family and everything. Like, she's a great kid who's really smart. She just has really just a shitty situation that she lives in. She does get pregnant, and I think she would drop out to get her GED, but she actually makes sure to finish it, like do the rest of it before she has her baby. And then after a year or two, she goes to community college and maybe more. I feel like Lord Devling was the really hot foreign exchange student that everybody was into. And he was like German or Austrian or something. Yes. So the Willow scene is actually one of my favorite scenes in part 1 for this reason. There is so much character information. So let's actually like watch it and unpack it piece by piece.
Good day.
It's good to see you.
Yes, it's good to see you as well. And I apologise for not coming to see you earlier.
Oh, it is for the better that you did not.
Is it?
Isn't it?
It is.
So straight out of the gate, Colin seems pleased that Penelope says it's good to see you. But then he follows it up with, I'm sorry I didn't come to see you earlier. And I feel like the subtext there is that the reason that he didn't see her earlier is because he's been sorting out his feelings. So I think when she responds, it's better that you did not, for a split second, he thinks, oh, maybe she's been sorting through her feelings too. For all of my writer Colin friends, he was definitely journaling about it. And maybe that's what Penelope gets to read. And again, I want to touch on it because I feel like a lot of people missed this. It has been a full week, which means he's been having dreams about Penelope for a full week, and it's driving him crazy.
We cannot continue our lessons.
Oh. I agree.
Good.
Just so I'm clear, what is your reasoning? Exactly, is it because of what happened between us?
No. But I assure you nothing of the kind will ever happen again.
Of course. And I apologise.
But I apologise for asking.
I do not apologise.
You apologise?
Yes, but Yes.
So when she's the one who says, we can't continue our lessons, he's like, yeah, I agree. He's hoping that it's because she's also experiencing what he has been experiencing for the past week, but he's still feeling out the vibe, so he asks her, why is that exactly? Is it maybe because of our kiss? Penelope has no idea that he enjoyed it, right? So the fact that he's bringing it up, it automatically makes her defensive and embarrassed because that was a very vulnerable moment. But she thinks that he's not interested in her, right? So she deflects and avoids it because she does still want a friendship with Colin, but like oh, am I gonna be the one who made it awkward? So when she then like continues her defense to be like, don't worry, that'll never happen again, Colin is kind of like, oh, okay, yeah. From his perspective, she's rejecting him. That's not what she thinks she's doing, but from his brain, that's what she's doing. So he apologizes for even asking because he thinks that he made her uncomfortable, which to be fair, he did, but it was because she was embarrassed, not because he was actually making her uncomfortable. He says, you do not need to apologize, like, because I was into it, but he doesn't say that. And then she says, well, you apologized. He's realizing that, like, he did kind of like not necessarily make it clear what his intentions were, but again, in his mind, Penelope is making it very clear that she doesn't feel the same way.
The lessons. You said they cannot continue.
They cannot. Whistledown has written about us. I have embarrassed myself and my family, and if we were to continue, I would embarrass yours as well.
Yes, that is very sensible.
In fact, it may be best if we keep our distance for now.
Oh, of course.
I must become serious about my prospects.
Prospects are important.
Prospects which have gone from very little to even less, but I must do my best.
Yes, you must.
But he's still not sure if he's reading it right. So again, he goes back to clarify. Why exactly do we need to stop them? She explains the real reason, which is that, like, actually it's a scandal, which he agrees, of course, is very sensible because it is. But then she continues with the line about, I have to, like, focus on my prospects. Again, she doesn't know that she's saying this, and he doesn't know that she's not saying this, but she's basically telling him, I don't see you as a prospect. To be fair, he never was before. So to him, this is like truly her shutting the door, like, I'm not interested in you. And he respects that. That's the key point here. For all of these people who were saying, well, Colin doesn't even like her until after he's jealous of her, that is not true. Lord Debling is not even in the picture yet, and let's be real, she doesn't have any serious prospects at this point. To him, this is a rejection, and so because he is genuinely a good friend, he respects that, and he doesn't try to question it anymore.
Well, I will go, leave you to it.
Oh, I will go.
Penelope, I hope... Well, I wish very much for your happiness.
Thank you. For all your kindness. If I secure a proposal, it will be because of you.
Does that ending shot look like the face of a happy man? It certainly does not. So he feels like he has been fully rejected. He says, okay, I'll go. I don't want to make this weirder. Before she does go, he calls her back to be like, I hope you find what you're looking for, like genuinely. Even though he's a little bit sad, maybe a lot of bit sad, definitely like downcast about the fact that she isn't interested in him, he still really does wish for her happiness, and we know that he means that. And then Penelope, again, she has no clue, but she's really just driving the stake into his heart as she says, thank you for your kindness. If I get a proposal, it will be because of you, which is just making him be like, fuck, I helped her not be in my life. And when she walks away, he's literally speechless. You can tell he's like trying to process. I don't know what he thought going into it, to be honest, but I feel like he felt like it could go either way, and he's definitely disappointed by how far away it really was. But again, it's they don't understand each other. I mean, they do understand each other in many ways, but not in this one. And then I'll do more of these for later in this episode, because this episode is literally just Colin losing his goddamn mind. Oh, I completely agree with you. 100%. I do stand by the fact that I think out of any of the siblings, Colin has the best understanding of each of the people within the family and who they are as a person individually compared to any of the others. And he is very socially aware, like he knows how to navigate situations. Yes, he makes some mistakes, but like for the most part, he's really good at navigating those situations situations, saying the right thing, resolve tension, that type of thing. Hyacinth, meanwhile, is definitely the most emotionally perceptive. She picks up on things instantly. Whereas, as much as Violet is perceptive of these things, I think because of the fact that her attention is split between so many of her children, like things that she would notice if she was just focusing on one of them kind of slip through the cracks. Like when Daphne first came out and like her and the Duke started doing their thing and then she like was courting the prince, Violet immediately was like, no, that's not really what you want. What about the Duke? What about him? With Anthony, it took like maybe a couple of times spent with both Edwina and Kate, but she definitely picked up on it. But with Colin, she puts the dots together when he asks the hypothetical question. And like once she like is confronted with this and she can tell immediately, but like her attention wasn't really on Colin, it was on Francesca and Eloise. Meanwhile, when John first comes to call on Francesca, Hyacinth is the only one that understands what's happening there. Gregory is like, why doesn't she talk to him? Eloise is thinking that, oh, this is a radically more effective way to put off suitors. Hyacinth is the one to say, maybe they're enjoying themselves. And then Violet is like, but how will they get to know each other if they don't talk? Hyacinth is the only one that, although she might not personally understand because she is not a quiet person like Francesca is, she understands why they like it. I love Anthony, but he's definitely like the brother that stepped into the role of dad, whereas I feel Benedict is much more of like the fun older brother. It's not really Anthony's role, like he has other things to do, and because of the role of kind of father figure, I think the other siblings don't really feel comfortable like expressing these things, and he's not looking for it. But Benedict genuinely enjoys being around his family. He likes being the big brother. He likes, playing cards with the youngest siblings, all of that stuff. Benedict could tell. When he comes downstairs beginning of episode 3 after he wakes up from his dream and he's like being weird, Benedict is like, yes, that sounds very normal. But Hyacinth is the one to bring it up. She's like, I know we're not supposed to talk about it, but I think it was really kind what you did for Penelope. She's lucky to have you as a friend. And then Colin denies it. He's like, yeah, she's a very good friend of the family. Hyacinth literally laughs. She literally laughs because she knows. Colin is not subtle about it. It's just that nobody has been paying attention to him, really. He's never been the forefront of the conversation. But returning from his trip, he's almost like a shiny new object because he is acting so differently than his true character. And so everybody's kind of like, okay, what's up with you? And they pay attention to him more than they have previously. But just a quick list of other people who knew. Obviously Ray, Penelope's lady's maid. Okay, the Mondricks, specifically Alice, definitely knew. She totally knew with his reaction when she brought it up. Also, Marina knew, okay? Yes, obviously she knew like Penelope's side first, but she recognizes because she literally does kind of know Colin, right? But she knows that he's a big dummy, okay? He's not stupid, but he is a big dummy, and so she literally spells it out for him because she's like, it's gonna happen. You gotta open your eyes, bud.
Exciting thing about the second half of the season of Bridgerton for me, other than the mirror scene, which was like just so chef's kiss, and like the things between Colin and Penelope, because all of it was exciting. Even when they were fighting, I was just like, this is great. This is exactly what I needed. This is like the best. But the most exciting thing to me was Penelope's relationship with her family changing because Colin helped. And that was so exciting because Colin really made Penelope start realizing that she's worthy of love and worthy of affection. And that was like what the season was. And in the stupid book, Romancing Mr. Bridgerton, which I really do, I enjoy, I love. But in the book, Colin thinks that he's not worthy of Penelope or has to prove himself to society to be worthy of this woman who's Lady Whistledown because she's so much more talented than him. And he thinks he has to do all these things to be able to protect his wife. And he has to be a good husband by following these rules of what a husband has to be. And we don't get to see anything come of that other than Penelope being like, yeah, you protect me. And Colin's the one who solves the entire Lady Whistledown issue. And it bothers me so much because why wouldn't Penelope solve the issue of Lady Whistledown when she's been solving it and resolving problems for it for so long? But in the show, in the show, we instead see Colin at first think that he has to resolve everything and fix everything, and that he has to be the lord of the house and the man of the house and all that jazz. And we see Penelope be like, I can help, I can fix this too. And he's like, no, I have to be worthy of you, I have to fix this. And then Penelope says something, which is, all you have to do is love me. You are good for loving me. You have shown me I'm worthy. Like, he fixed her entire family dynamic. He fixed it. He fixed her entire family dynamic by yelling at her mom once, okay? He was like, I love your daughter. Your daughter is the love of my life, and you're not gonna sully our Bridgerton name, ours, because she's a goddamn Bridgerton too, by saying anything different. And Portia literally at first was like, I just didn't know that it was a love match. How was I supposed to know? And starts trying to be like making excuses for herself, and then she stops making excuses for herself and starts just being like, I should have been nicer to Penelope. Penelope doesn't tell me things because I'm not nice to my daughter. So then she starts actively being nice to the daughter that she's always mocked and been mean to and been rude to. And the other sisters are just like, what are you doing? This is so weird. This is so strange. What are you, mother? Like, what's up? And they're both pregnant and they're being mean to Penelope, and Portia calls them out on it. She's like, don't be mean to your sister. We are Featheringtons. We stick together. And they like laugh at her because no, they're like, they have never stuck together a day in their lives. But then, because Portia doesn't back down, because Portia is just like, this is how it is now. And because Portia stopped treating the oldest like her absolute favorite, the oldest starts trying to vie for her mother's attention. And she realizes that to get her mom's attention, she has to be nicer. And also, she starts wanting to be nicer. Like, you can see it because she's pregnant, because she has all of these emotions going through her. She's starting to feel like a different person. And like, maybe she can be nicer. And she's seeing all this love from her husband, and she's trying to get love from other people, and she's trying to be nicer. And it's so exciting. And it all happened because Colin loves Penelope, okay? It all happened because Colin loved Penelope, and Penelope was finally able to see that she deserved better than the treatment that she'd always been getting from her family. And by the end of the season, we not only see these sisters tolerate each other's existence, we see them actively, actually love each other and support each other. And isn't that the most exciting thing you've ever seen in your entire life? Because it's the most exciting thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Okay. Bye. Portia Featherington waved to Violet Bridgerton in the church. I was immediately like, oh my god, Violet does not like Portia. Violet's not happy about the Portia part of this entire thing. But then, Penelope and Colin had their little, like, falling out, their fight, everything that was going on. They were so... I don't know. I kind of liked the fighting. I'm not gonna lie. I actually thought that this was a good amount of drama to bring into this season. But Portia and Violet are being really awkward around each other, and they're just like, oh yeah, like, you know, young people should like want to be around each other before they get married. And Portia turns to Violet and goes, I don't know what's going on. And Violet goes, I don't know what's going on. And they have this connection moment where they both just want to fix their children, but neither of them knows how to fix their children, and they both just kind of agree that maybe they should let the children fix themselves and like step back and let it be. And that's not something that Portia would have done literally in the first half of the season, let alone in the rest of the show. And it was so exciting. And Portia figuring out how to respect Penelope and who she is, and Penelope figuring out right back that her mother never really had the choices that Penelope had because of her mother, and figuring out how to forgive her mother for all the wrongs that she had done her in the past, so that they can like start anew and clean slate it and have everything go forward in a completely different way of them actually loving each other and showing affection and showing like actually wanting to show affection and have affection and have a real relationship between a mother and daughter is the most exciting thing in the entire world. And it all started because of Colin, but it also all started because Portia realized she was fucking wrong. And that's, if you haven't grown up with a narcissistic parent, then I feel like you can't fully appreciate it, but like a parent that is, Portia was so consistently narcissistic parent coded, and she admitted that she's wrong, which means that she's, I don't know how to put it,
I don't know how to put it, but this is huge. This, as someone who had a narcissistic parent growing up, this was such a big deal and so important to me and so important to see on a screen, especially on a screen where mothers are so often painted as being bad, not in Bridgerton, but in so many other TV shows, mothers are always the villain. And in Bridgerton, that gets healed for everyone except Cressida Cowper. That's a different story for a different day. Anyways, chef's kiss. Okay, bye. I have to admit something, and no one's gonna like me after I say it, but I have to admit it. I have to tell my truth. I don't like Benedict. I don't care about Benedict Bridgerton. I've never cared about Benedict Bridgerton. Yeah, he's beautiful. He's beautiful in that, like, British way that I've just never cared about. And yeah, he's an artist, but, like, he's an artist who doesn't even, like, care about his art anymore. He gave up on the art after season 2, season 1. Like, Benedict's storyline just doesn't interest me. Him being in a throuple was the most interesting thing that he's ever done. And then the minute that this hot girl, who I had not trusted, and then it turns out that the secret that she was keeping was just that she's a little sexually adventurous. I was like, I actually have feelings for you. I would love to see if this could go further. He's like, it's not my season yet, so I can't. Sorry, loser. Bye. I'm out of here. I was, like, really hoping that we would just continuously bang other people together, you know? And I don't care. And the most annoying part is that we saw more of Benedict this season than we did of Colin. And I didn't even realize that until somebody else pointed it out. And then I was like, oh my god, we saw more of Benedict this season than we did of Colin. Colin, who is substantially more interesting in my opinion, because Colin's continuously growing. And, like, yeah, he's whiny because he doesn't really know what he wants to do with his life. But now he's, like, trying to know what he wants to do with his life. And we could have seen more of that. And instead, we see Benedict floundering, looking for someone to bang. And it's because the new showrunner is like, I'm gonna bring queer storylines to the front and center. And I'm like, that's great. Love that. Love that idea. Love that concept. But you're still supposed to focus on the love interests of that season. The love interest being Colin and Penelope! Not Benedict and what the fuck her name is. Just Colin and Penelope. Everyone else is in the background. We got a bit of Cantony. That was great. We got some of Lady Violet Bridgerton and Lady Dan Bury's hot brother. That was awesome. We got the Mondriches. That was awesome. But you know who we didn't need? We didn't need multiple sex scenes between Benedict and some randos, okay? We needed more of Colin and Penelope. I don't care about Benedict Bridgerton. I'm not gonna care about next season because Benedict's just like meh. He's just meh to me. He is a dude. He is a guy. Hit him with your car.
Cowper was raised to hate women. She was raised to be a backstabber, and we see that especially in the 3rd season of Bridgerton, while her mom is actively being like, I told you not to be friends with that Eloise Bridgerton girl. Not because Eloise was, like, causing trouble, but because Eloise was a woman who was gonna take away a lot of Cressida's power, and also her mom apparently hates the Bridgertons. No insight as to why. She just hates them. She hates them so much. And her mom said, I told you that women are good for nothing except stabbing you in the back or something along those lines. Like, the fact that you tried to befriend one is beyond me. I don't know why you would. And Cressida's over here being sad, being depressed, being distraught because she lost the only friend that she really had. And then, because she knows that she has already lost everyone, because she knows that Eloise has officially, like, said no, she decides to not only, like, go into, like, hating the Bridgertons the way that her mom does, but she also has decided that she's going to, like, burn every bridge. And that's such a Cowper thing to do, because Cressida doesn't actually fully think through to the next step. Cressida is not playing chess. Cressida is playing Go Fish. Yeah, no. I was gonna say checkers, but not even checkers. She's playing Go Fish, okay? She's not thinking 3 steps ahead. She's not even thinking 1 step ahead. She's hearing people talk about things that could be done by Lady Whistledown, and she's like, I could be Lady Whistledown, and then she's not considering how she would even remotely prove that she's Lady Whistledown, because she's like, people will think I'm Lady Whistledown. I'm super smart. And then she gets offended by all these people who are like, you can't be Lady Whistledown. And she's like, why? You don't think I'm smart enough? And it's like, no one thinks you're smart enough, Cressida. Everything that has ever come into your head as a thought comes out of your mouth. And it's always mean, but it's never creative. It's always mean. never creative. And Lady Whistledown is one thing, and it's creative and creatively mean. And Cressida can't believe that people wouldn't believe her, and she can't believe that her mother wouldn't believe her, and then she starts trying to rate this thing. And like, it's slow going, but because it's slow going, her mother's like, that's all you have? And Cressida's like, well, I've only had this for like 30 seconds. Like, she's writing on a desk. She's never done this before. Like, she's never really had to write anything down before because she's a woman in society, and she's not expected to write anything more than letters. And who's she gonna write letters to? No one likes her. And because of that, she's even more alone by the end of the season than we'd ever seen her before. And I actually appreciate that. I don't appreciate it because I think it's like justified. I don't appreciate it because I think it's deserved. I actually appreciate it because I think it shows that you can be going down the right path and one thing, like the right path for you, and one thing will come out and kind of veer you off that course and make you question everything that you've done before. And I think with Cressida, it makes so much sense that that would happen because she's never been given good chances up until this season when she had Eloise. And then when Eloise was starting to try and get Penelope back, Eloise stopped paying attention to Cressida. And not fully Eloise's fault there. Eloise's fault when she like just decided to not be Cressida's friend anymore out of the sudden, out of the blue, all of a sudden. But like, Cressida Cowper was never given good choices. So because of that, we were never going to see her make good choices when she was finally kind of given them. Because when Colin Bridgerton came to talk to her with his hat in his hand, telling her about his little sob story, she probably could have been like, here's why I need this. This is important. Here's why I need it. But instead, she went, you're a little bitch, which he was being a little bitch. We can all agree on that. And I'm not working with you. And now the price has gone up. It's triple, 20,000 now. Okay, thanks. Or it's doubled because it was 5,000 for the queen. And Cressida was like, I'm blackmailing you 10,000 and then 20,000. Okay, so not tripled, but still, she was like, double the price, 20,000 now in the morning, or I tell everyone about Penelope being Lady Whistledown and no one will deal with it. No one will deal with it. No one likes her because Cressida likes that no one liked Penelope because no one liked Cressida. And I could go on about Cressida Cowper's growth and then falling back for so long. And I actually do think that we're going to see more of Cressida later. I think her aunt's gonna die and that she will come back into society. Or if her aunt doesn't die, her dad will die. Someone's gonna die. And Cressida's gonna be able to come back into society at least a little bit. And I'm thinking we will get a happy ending for her. I'm really hoping that we will because I really appreciate what they did with the character this season. And also, if they wanted to give her a spin-off where she murders her aunt and keeps murdering other people to get everything that she wants and she ends up with like a fashion person, I'd be good with it. I'd be great with it. Okay, bye. Okay, no offense, but this is the stupidest take I've ever heard because honestly, the Mondriches and Bridgerton are what really are keeping the show together right now because here's the thing. We are seeing very often through their eyes. We're seeing what it is to be new money now, okay? And the thing is, they're learning what it is to have money. And we're not seeing them complain about the fact that they can no longer own a bar. We're seeing them complain about the fact that something that they have worked towards their entire lives has now been taken from them because one relative died. Now their son is a lord, which is great, which is amazing, which is phenomenal. But now they have to figure out how to raise a lord. They have to figure out how to keep him from being a little bitch later on in his life. And they have to make sure that he's even better educated than they were trying to educate him before. This is a show that is looking at both sides of things while still looking from the money side. They're also looking from the new money side, but the new money side is different than if you're in the Gilded Age and you're a guy who runs a train company and you're trying to date some chick who comes from the, I don't know, whoever Cynthia Nixon's character is in that show, okay? No, we're seeing people who now hold the title, and because they now hold the title, people are like, oh, you are one of us now. That's so exciting. I'm so happy for you that the right relative died, and now you are one of us. Isn't that the most exciting? You're so exciting. I'm so excited for you. You get to be a lord's father. Great. Wonderful. You're not gonna own this bar though, right? Because it's so gauche to like work. What is working? And another place that we get to see this is from Beast and Beauty and the Beast, not in Beauty and the Beast, but when he's in Downton Abbey. Dan, whatever the fuck his name is, okay? When he is in Downton Abbey, he is the new lord. And we're seeing from his perspective everything that he has to learn about being a lord. And more than that, we're seeing that in the 1910s. We're seeing that directly after the Titanic. So, like, being a lord is already going out of style. Having money as a lord is already something that's pretty uncommon. But on top of that, he has to figure out how to like keep all these people under his employ, and he has to stop learning how to take responsibility for tying his own neckerchief because that could take away someone's job. That's what the Mondriches are learning right now. And we get to see the much more exciting thing of them being in love, but more than that, more than just them being in love. Because here's the thing, Mr. Mondrich, whose first name I don't know, is in love with his wife. He's so happy to have this family. He's so happy to be there with his family, with his love. But, and here's the big but, he has worked for so long to run this bar. He boxed for so many years to be able to afford the bar that he was so proud to own, and now he's no longer allowed to own it if he wants to be respected in the society that had previously respected him because he owned the bar. And how, like, everything changed for him in a matter of seconds. Everything changed for him in the matter of one discussion with a lawyer. They're not complaining about not owning a bar. They're complaining about losing their life's work. Because it was very uncommon for a boxer to be able to then go off and own a bar. And owning a bar that gentlemen went to. He was friends with enough gentlemen that gentlemen went to his bar. He owned a gentleman's establishment. That's huge. That's massive. Like, this is a family who worked their asses off to get where they were, and then it was all technically taken away from them, and they were given more in its place, but that more, while very exciting, is new and strange, and you have to get used to it. And we're seeing it all through their eyes. That's exciting. And their storyline went perfectly against the Featherington storyline of trying to keep that title in the family. So we're seeing what will happen to the Featheringtons on a separate side if someone like the Mondriches were to take over. It's big. It's good. It's well written. Okay.
From One Tree Hill is a cartoonishly evil villain from the get-go to the point that he's basically a king in a fairy tale. Like, if you described the plot of One Tree Hill to me and kept out all the modern stuff like basketball and just told me that there were two princes, one had been like sent away at birth to live in a tower or to live in the village with a common woman, and the other was kept by the father and raised by him and basically abused by him for the next 17 years, and even though they were the same exact age for some reason to which the math has never added up to me, even though they have lived in the same house and are raised in the same games, one is actively being raised to be the prince, and the other is actively being told that he's not good enough and ignored by the king for all of the kingdom to know about and hear. If you told me that that was the plot of a fairy tale, I would listen to you. I would believe you. I would go, which of the Grimm brothers wrote that? Hans Christian Andersen did that one, right? I would just be like, okay, yeah, did Neil Gaiman like write that in his spare time as like a short story for something or other? Like, tell me more about this, I'll read it. And then you could say, it's actually One Tree Hill. And I wouldn't even be, like, I would be shocked, but like, that's literally the plot of One Tree Hill. The plot of One Tree Hill is that the king of the kingdom of some part of North Carolina has decided that one son isn't good enough because he's being raised by a common woman, and the other son is good enough because his wife is blonde with that one. And they're both bastards, and they're both, like, made out of wedlock, and I'm just like, okay, but yeah, sure. For some reason, Dan Scott's worst enemy is some 17-year-old kid named Lucas, who has his last name, and Nathan Scott is his pride and joy and the best thing that's ever happened to him. And also something that does bother me, something that really does bother me, is why is Lucas's mom a hardcore brunette and his dad is a hardcore brunette, and then Nathan's mom is a blonde? Like, Lucas is a blonde with 2 brunette parents, and I'm like, where did that come from in the lineage? It bothers me, okay? So, like, he's, I don't know, if Chad Michael Murray decided to just drop everything and start being early seasons Nathan Scott, I wouldn't have been shocked, because that's all he ever played anyways. And then this got him typecast as, like, the Cinderella prince. But then, ironically, he just Chad Michael Murray'd Too Close to the Sun, and Lucas Scott started being the douchebag, and Nathan Scott started being the all-around good person one while, you know, Lucas is there, because it's Chad Michael Murray. And, like, do we expect good things from Chad Michael Murray? No! We expect Chad Michael Murray to cheat on Sophia Bush with Paris Hilton for some godforsaken reason. Cheat on Rory Gilmore. Well, no, he didn't actually, because they didn't, but, like, Chad Michael Murray plays a douche, okay? That's what he is. That's what he's good for. And the fact that he played Lucas Scott into the ground, into being the worst character ever because they just couldn't un-Chad him because his name is Chad, just, I don't know, chef's kiss. Makes me happy. Okay, anyways, One Tree Hill is a fairy tale. Bye.
Wow, I really loved season 3 of Bridgerton. What a heartfelt and touching season. Season 3 was the worst season ever. What? Yeah, you're in denial if you say you enjoyed it. I mean, there were some aspects that I didn't love, but overall it was actually quite enjoyable. Denial. Okay, well, there were just too many side plots. Well, there's side plots at every season, and as more seasons and more characters are introduced, you'd expect there to be more stories being told, especially since we asked for more representation and more stories to be told. But the side plots took away from the love story. There was barely any Colin and Penelope on screen compared to the other seasons. Well, actually, Colin and Penelope got more screen time than Kate and Anthony, but we didn't get to see any yearning or pining. Weren't the first 4 episodes essentially all of Colin yearning after Penelope? And we've seen Penelope been yearning after Colin for the last 2 seasons. Did you want them to yearn the entire time? We asked for a happy couple, but there were no sex scenes. There were like 3 of them, and one of them was 5 minutes long, but there was no montage of them having sex. Well, that was only in season 1 and Queen Charlotte, and both of them were relevant to their plots. But where was the chemistry, the passion, the tension? On the screen? Do you think that chemistry can only be shown through repressed feelings and anger? You can have tender chemistry, but I wanted more passion and pining. But you asked for a happy couple. You said there was too much yearning and pining in season 2 and that you just wanted to see a happy couple in love. But they weren't in love. Colin was mad at her. Well, one could argue he had a right to that. And he didn't get enough character development himself, and him and Penelope didn't get enough time to reconcile at the end. Now, you see, that I agree with, and I actually think it's quite interesting when you look at it from the bigger picture, because Colin fans are just in denial about it being a good season, and when really it sucks, and the new showrunner should be fired. Well, that seems like an extreme reaction. She's ruined the show forever. Now we won't even get my big macho man Michael, and John has disappeared off the face of the earth, and Francesca hates him, and never loved him, and now she's an out-of-the-closet lesbian who has no desire to have children, so we'll never get to see her have issues with fertility. You got that because Francesca, the social anxiety queen who has stumbled over her words multiple times this season, in any given social interaction really, stumbled over her words? Worst season ever. Yeah, I'm gonna go watch it over here.
Well, happy official summer, everybody. As a coastal beach girly myself, I'm thrilled that it's summer and it's so hot, but we might as well discuss the turmoil in the summer program fandom. I've gotten a bunch of comments about this, and what I'm gonna say about it is like probably gonna sound contradictory, but hear me out. Apparently it looks like they're filming a lot of wedding-y stuff for season 3. I've never kept up super well with like the filming leaks and stuff like that. I only hear about it when you guys tell me because A, I don't feel like it's super necessary, and B, I do feel like they're intentionally trying to keep that stuff like kind of secret. And some of these people are like vultures with like, this is what they're filming and they're here and that. And like, I feel like it's a little bit much. And also because I don't really feel like it's effective because we actually just don't know, and we're not gonna know until it gets closer to the season airing. Really not until we see the actual season, because even last season, I remember like pretty much the whole season like kind of got leaked, or so we thought. And there were still so many things that like nobody knew about. But basically the gist of it is is that apparently people were seeing like a white dress, country club, like people are automatically going to, they're getting married, like they're going through with this engagement and wedding plot with Jeremiah and Belly that is in the third book. And all I want to say is that if you know me, I've never really had any hope for a Jelly endgame as much as I would love it, but I've also never been convinced that they're carrying out that teen engagement plot in season 3. And even with all this stuff, I'm still not convinced of that. Me and Ajay, and I'm sure she'll see this video, we're talking about this the other day, and she's so smart, and we were talking about how both of us are kind of like wary about them doing that wedding plot with Jeremiah and Belly anyway, and there are other reasons why Belly might be wearing a white dress. If there is a wedding or engagement plot, remember that it doesn't necessarily mean that it's Jeremiah and Belly. We don't know. Also, I've talked about this before, but a lot of people like point to the like wedding and marriage illusions that we see with Jeremiah and Belly, and I have always thought that that was more of like an homage to what happened in the books, not necessarily foreshadowing for what's happening in season 3. Because if you look at season 1, it's really kind of like all 3 books smushed together, and I think that that season was crafted in a way to represent all 3 books and like come to the conclusion that the third book comes to, while knowing that they might not get a second season, so like wanting to represent all of them. And I think that is what the Deb Ball represents. And if you look at season 2, it's rendered a lot of the plot points and the climaxes and like the culminations of book 3 sort of pointless at this point, because they've already been unraveled or they've already happened. So it cannot play out exactly the way We'll Always Have Summer has. Now that doesn't mean that they're not going to include some kind of teen engagement plot with them. They certainly might, but I wouldn't get too worked up over that exactly yet, because it might not exist at all, and I think there's a good chance that it doesn't. And however it does happen, it cannot happen the way that it happened in the books. It just wouldn't make sense anymore. Now that doesn't mean I personally think we're getting a Jelly endgame, and that doesn't mean I personally think that they're gonna do like super right by Jer or Jelly, but they might, and I wouldn't get too worked up over this wedding thing yet, because remember, it might not even happen. I think there's just so much that we don't know. And let's just say they do. Even if they do keep the engagement plot, while you know I have my issues with that plot line as a whole, the proposal scene is like truly one of the most romantic moments in that book. It's so beautiful. Like their breakup is so like beautiful and romantic and angsty, and like honestly, I don't think we're gonna be robbed of that. I think we might get some good stuff out of it even if they do keep that plot line, but I'm also not gonna be surprised if we don't see that plot line play out with them at all. You know what I'm saying? Even though I know I tend to be like the most pessimistic Jelly shipper ever, they're not getting their play-by-play of We'll Always Have Summer like they hope they are. That is not going to happen. Like there's just no way that that can happen. Like, hey, maybe some things will be worse, but it's not going to be like We'll Always Have Summer. It just doesn't make sense anymore. Like maybe we will see the teen engagement plot play out, but it can't happen the same way. You know what I'm saying?